Hello and welcome back to this channel. So today's tutorial is going to be about drawing this peacock in Adobe Fresco. So one of you guys left a comment saying that can you please draw a peacock in Adobe Fresco? So although I'm not really good at drawing peacocks, I thought I'll give it a try. So I used a reference image. So obviously I created this from a reference image and not from my own imagination. Okay, so let's just get started. I'm going to click on custom size, go to print, and I'll choose a small postcard. And for this, I'll make sure that it's in portrait mode. If it's not in portrait mode for you, click on this tiny arrow and you should see switch to portrait. Once you're done, click on the small postcard. And now it's time to bring in your color palette and your sketch. You can find the link to download both of these in the description box below. So go ahead and do that. Once you have them on your iPad, click on your images, go to your photos, click on the color palette. And you might not see so many colors in your color palette because I might have streamlined them once I'm done with the illustration, but it will look something like this. Click on done and now click and choose the colors and just slightly tap outside. Okay, I think I've picked all the colors that I want. So once you're done with this, click on this and delete layer and hide the color palette. Now let's bring in the sketch. So go to your photos and bring in the sketch. So if it doesn't sit like this, make sure you can use this to turn and make sure it sits nicely like this. Once you're happy with it, click on done. You can click on that layer, go to these levels, click on multiply to remove the background and then reduce the opacity so that you can see what's happening. So to start off, we'll actually learn how to draw the peacock feather first. So I'm just going to click on new layer just so that I can show you. And let me just take this as an example. Peacock feather has few colors. One is the bright green. So you can go ahead and choose one of the bright greens here. The brush that we'll be using is going to be Belgian Comic. You can find it under ink and then Belgian Comics. And I've set it to 173. That should be okay. And I'm just going to draw the shape of the peacock feather here. This is the outer ring. And for the inner ring, we have this brown color. Just going to reduce that. Okay, and this is going to be a brown inner ring like that. And then we'll have a very nice blue, which I don't see here. Maybe I forgot to add it. So I'll just go ahead and make sure I pick that color. And I'm going to add a blue like this. And in the end, we have black, which is going to be somewhat a circle, but a little bit of dent like that. So this is basically how your center of your peacock feather looks like. But then again, there are other things that add to it as well. Okay, now it's time to figure out how to add the other things. First of all, go to this light pale white that we have, or pinkish one. And it's going to be the stalk of your feather. And then we're going to go into one of these darker greens here and make sure you draw strokes so that it covers the thing like this. You see what I'm doing here? Like that. And all your strokes are going to be in this direction, as you can see. And then you're going to switch colors and get the blue ones as well in between. And going to add some blue as well. Like that. And then once it comes, like if you have a, let me just quickly show you this one. Imagine your feather is like this. Let me uncheck this. Okay, that looks better now. And then you have your green and then it goes like that. And obviously you need to add some blues in there. And you can take some light blue as well, like that. And most importantly, I usually take the light green as well. The lightest one, I like that. And add in here and there some of these things. Like that. So this is basically how we're going to draw all the peacock feathers in here, okay? So I'm going to uncheck that and check back in the sketch because we're going to start with that. So let's go ahead and choose a layer or create a new layer for yourself if you want. And let's first start by drawing the peacock itself. So for the peacock background here, I've chosen something which is really bright green. You don't really have to do that. You can actually choose this green as well, or you can skip it and choose some neutral color as well, but I kind of like it, so I'm just going to stick with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this area with that color, as you can see, like that. And then I'll choose the brown color that I have to make some dents like this. And I'm going to go ahead and add dents all the way until the end of this one. So once you're happy with all these things, you can stop. Just going to quickly check. Okay, that looks fine. And like I said, we're not drawing a realistic looking peacock because that's not my style, but we'll try to draw something which looks like a peacock, at least, I guess. Go back to this layer which has the green color, click on a new layer, and now we're going to draw the peacock here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the dark blue that we have and just draw so that it covers this area like this. Obviously the head as well. And I'm going to stop at this because I'm going to need to add some shadows later, so I don't want to add the head right now. So I'm just going to color this off. Now I'll click on a new layer. I'm going to add the head now, and mind you, I'm not going to add the white parts of it, so it's just going to be just like that. Make sure you're doing it nice like this. Okay, that looks fine to me. I think the head is a little bit misshapen here, so if you want to add it to be perfect, so just go ahead and do that. Okay, now it's time to add some shadows. So let's first go ahead to the peacock body, click on a new layer and click on clipping mask. And we're going to use the shadow brush, or the one which I always use. Go to basic and soft round opacity. And now we're going to choose a darker blue. There are two of them here. Choose whichever is okay with you. But before that, we need to add something here as a highlight. Okay, so let me go here and choose a green that we have. I'm just going to choose that and try to add in a bit of a color here. But as you can see, it's too dark. So we go ahead and choose the lighter green. And this seems to be okay, but I need to increase the size of the brush a little bit. And I'm going to add a little bit all the way till here. I think still the brush size is too tiny. Maybe 156. Because it has to be really subtle, like... Okay, I think this looks fine because as you can see, there's a slight color coming up over there. And now I'm going to go ahead and choose the black. And all this time we are on the clipping mask, by the way. And I'm going to add a bit here, over here, as you can see. But I want to erase it off from this side. So hold your eraser tool and let's just erase it like this. So now you can see that the dark part is only on this side and you have erased that part over here. Let's go back to our brush tool and I'm going to add a bit here as well because we want to show that there's some kind of a gradient happening here, right over there. And we're going to do on this edge as well, as you can see, like that. I hope you can see that. Generally lightly, don't press too dark. You don't want that. You want it to be very subtle shadow, just to mark where the things have a bit of a shadow. Once you're done with that, just uncheck the sketch and make sure that everything looks fine. It actually does. I'm happy with how it looks right now. And now it's time to go ahead and go check out the head. So let's click on a new layer and click on the clipping mask again. And we want some green in here. So I'm going to go back to that green and the brush is going to be the same shadow brush. I'm going to add a bit of a shadow here, the green shadow, I mean, because that looks nice. But I'm not just happy with that. I'll choose some black and reduce the size a bit and add a little bit here just in the corner like that. And I think everything else should look fine. I'm not worried about other things right now. So I'm just going to keep it at that. Uncheck the sketch to make sure everything looks great. It does. And I might want to add some more green here. So I'll just go to that part here. That is the body of the peacock and the clipping mask. And let's choose that green and maybe a little bit over here. We just want it to be nice and green, isn't it? So once our peacock is ready, I just want to go ahead and patch these things up. So I'll go to the green color. I'm already in green color, but I want to choose the other brush that I had. I already have it in my favorites, so I'm just going to click on that. You can always click on the star and it shows up under your favorites. So let's go ahead and add this here so that there's no gap. Now it's time to make the beak. So I'll go on top of this, click on a new layer. Obviously go to this light pinkish thing, because if I put white, then it might not be visible. But we're going to change the background color later, so that's still okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw the beak. I'm also going to draw in these extra lines that I have. The brush size is too big, go ahead and reduce the size. I'm going to add a bit of a color here, a white streak like that. And let's click on a new layer and add the eyes, because I don't know, it'll make everything look much better. So I have the black, going to reduce the size to maybe 88. And I'm just going to draw on this. And obviously you need a white to cover this up. Just go ahead and see. Our peacock looks like it has a really fancy eyes, but it has some eyeliner on, cat eyes and all that stuff. But okay, that's okay. And we're gonna add some extra things here on top. Just some spots, I guess, and we'll take some blue as well and add some spots. I think this is too light, so maybe we can make it darker. Okay, I think that should be good. If you want, you can add a couple of black spots as well. I have this extra rogue stroke here, so I'm going to go ahead and erase this off. All right, and there's one here as well. Oops. That's in a different layer, I guess. Okay, all the rogue strokes are gone. And let's go ahead and check the artwork now, and it's slowly coming through. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead and draw the peacock feathers. But before that, I just want to go ahead and merge all these together. Not merge, group them together. So click on these three dots, select multiple, and select the artwork, uncheck the sketch, and we'll select everything that involves the body of the peacock, and click on this folder button so that we have everything in one layer. Okay, and now it's time to make these peacock feathers. So I'm just going to click on new layer, but this should be below the peacock layer because you know they are in the background. And so let's go ahead and start doing that. The color would be obviously the light one first. Take your Belgian comics brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and add the peacock green first everywhere so that you know it's all covered. Okay, so our greens are ready. Now I'll click on a new layer and I'll go below the greens because I forgot to add this before. So go to your layers and click on this light or pale pink that we have, and we're going to go ahead and draw these lines. If I uncheck it, you can see something like this. Okay, now let's go and add the brown lines. So go to your brown, and I'm on the same layer as the green ones because I just want to create more layers. Okay, now it's time to add some blue. So that is the lightest blue that we have. Okay, so it's time to add some black now. So go ahead and choose some black. And typically it would be like you add a black like this and make a dent and then do that, but we don't have patience for that. So you can just fill it with black. Okay, so now our black is also filled up and it looks very nice. But now let's go ahead and add other things to the peacock feather. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on a new layer and click on the fill tool and fill it with black and vector so that I can see what's happening in my artwork right now, because otherwise it'll be very confusing. So I'm just going to go ahead above the peacock feather base that we created, and let me go ahead and choose the colors that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the green first, and go to your brush that you have, but you have to reduce it to maybe a little more, 60, I guess. Yeah, 60 looks good. And we're going to go ahead and draw the feathers properly. So as you can see, it's going to be like that, like this, and maybe like that. First, we're going to start with the green color, and then we're going to go ahead and add some blue to it later on. Actually go below the layer as well if you want. And don't worry about it being all cluttered up and everything. I'm gonna add something to it later to make it look much nicer. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, we are done with only one side. There's still so much more left to go. Okay, we are done with our green, but let's go ahead and choose our blue, because it adds a nice color when you choose blue as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and randomly add some blue things like this. You can choose wherever you want to add them. If you think a certain space is blank, maybe something like that. And by the way, keep some space for green as well. We're going to add that too. Okay, it's time for some green. Let's take nice and bright green and add some. I'm not adding it as much as the blues. So once you're done with all that, I just want to edit one thing here. I'll go on top of this, go ahead. And since I have the green, I'm just going to add this like that and put some stuff like this. That's because it's just to create an effect that, okay, you are, you know, this feather is kind of above the peacock. Okay, so let's go ahead and uncheck the sketch and take a look at it, and your peacock is almost ready. Actually, you can stop right here if you don't want to continue, because it still looks pretty good, but I want to show you a little bit of a trick. Okay, we forgot to add one thing, so I had to bring this back, go to the layer above the head layer, and there's something over here that's the bushes that the peacock has. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the dark blue that I have and probably draw something like this. I really don't know how to draw this, and just draw some lines like that. Maybe you can make it darker. It's too thick. Add something like that and just add a bit of a bushes thing. Yeah, it looks fine. So this should go below the peacock layer so that it goes behind the head like that. And now you can uncheck the sketch and you can see that your peacock is almost ready. Now I want to create an effect which looks really nice as a background. So let's start by doing that. For that, we're going to use this layer which has the not the main peacock feather thing, but the only tinier feathers. Okay, so you're going to use that to create this beautiful effect. So let's try and do that. So I don't want to edit this one itself because I want to keep it. So click on that and click on duplicate layer. And we'll hide this layer for now. And for the other layer, we're going to go ahead and choose a watercolor brush. Click on your watercolor brush, go to your watercolor and click on watercolor wash flat. And for color, we're going to go ahead and choose it to 0%. When you bring it all the way down, doesn't matter what color you have. It just means that it has only water on your brush right now, which is like perfect, by the way. So once you have that, I think I'll keep this to 512. So if you just, oops, that's a lot of, let's see this, 63. This is kept at 100, so I'm going to reduce it to about 50s. And let's see if that works. Yeah, that's fine. Or you can actually reduce the flow to even less, that is about 36. So it doesn't, yeah, spread too much. Can you see the effect right now? So it's kind of spreading, but not too much. It's becoming a little blurry. So you don't have to do it for all the feathers here. Just a little bit so that it gets a little blurry here and there. Not too much. Okay. So there you go. Once you're done with that, your peacock feather is actually ready. Okay, so now the peacock feathers are ready, but I forgot one tiny thing, adding shadows to our beak. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Go to your peacock layer and you can double click and go inside and find your beak layer. You can use your I button here to check which one has the beak. And I'm going to go into my brushes and actually choose the soft round opacity. You can find it in basic and soft round opacity. We used it earlier. And go ahead and click on black now, and obviously 100%. And I'm going to add a little bit of shadow here like that. Did you see what I did there? Just added a shadow only here and not here or here. The brush setting is at 66. It's perfect and it adds such tiny shadow. And I'm going to go ahead and click on some other brush. It doesn't have to be Belgian comics. It could be anything. We just need to add a tiny line here just so that it looks like it's an actual beak. Okay, so our peacock is finally ready and it's time to export it. You can just click on this export button, publish and export, export as, and export it as a PNG or a JPEG. So that brings us to the end of this tutorial. I know it was a bit longer than my usual tutorials, but we had a lot to draw. By the way, you can actually add the watercolor effect to these things as well, the main bulb of the peacock feather as well. So it is really up to you, like what you want to do with this. Make sure you choose this as 0%, and then you can actually go ahead and add some effects like this as well onto the layer so that it looks nice and dreamy. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to share it with your friends and family and anybody who's interested in it actually. And please subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification bell, because then it lets you know that I've posted a new video. Okay, I guess I'll see you in the next video then. Bye bye.